Testing, testing. Can you hear me? Yeah. Great. Thank you so much for having me here. How many people are familiar with AJA products? Excellent. Really excellent. Well, we've got some new announcements that have come out here in the last couple months, and just wanted to go over some of those at a high level and make sure everybody's aware of what some of the new products we've got out, and more importantly, how those products are going to work with some of those solutions that you're looking to do. So you may be familiar with, we break down our product categories into 3 different areas, and we're going to start with acquisition. And one of our primary products in that space is right here, the Key Pro. Anybody currently using one of these? Well, guess what? I'm going to hand this around so everybody gets a chance to look at it. Make sure you take a look at the back, because that's where the real meat and potatoes is. So we've been seeing this product really generate a lot of excitement in a number of different areas, not only in the post-production space and in kind of the traditional production environments, but also in places we didn't even expect. So you can see here, we've got a number of the units in Iraq. This was actually part of a project that was used to capture multiple camera feeds as well as a program feed in different flavors of ProRes. So we're finding, thank you, we're finding that these tools are being used in ways that we weren't originally anticipating. And we've got a new firmware update coming out here in the next couple of weeks that's free. It's a free download, and it will essentially make this product feature complete from what was originally engineered and designed, as well as adding some additional features that we hadn't even thought of back when the product was created 3 years ago. Now, this was a recording device that allowed camera feeds to come directly into a hard drive by recording ProRes. And so now we've also incorporated support for RED and even the Canon XF to be able to provide some more functionality with regards to how the information is recorded and, more importantly, the metadata that's associated with those different types of camera systems. You can see we've got lens and length tap support, so that's enabled now, so that you can now trigger the recording of this device up to, I think it's 8 or 9 different ways now. So, you know, we like to give people lots and lots of options of ways of doing different things. 1080i30 and 720p60. Again, support for those formats has been asked for, so we're providing that functionality on a piece of hardware that's 3 years old, and being able to continue to enhance that with those existing units that are already out in the field. Super out, Firewire 800 transport support on the back of the unit. Again, as it goes around, you'll notice that there is a Firewire 800 port on the back. You used to have to take the actual drive out of the unit in order to transfer the files to your host computer. Now you can leave the drive enabled. You can't be recording and file transferring, but you can at least be able to have that connected to a host system and very seamlessly be able to move that data off there.
So you cannot record directly to the computer like you do with an I/O?
Correct. Yes. And you can almost think of the Key Pro as a host system to that storage. So it owns the storage. You basically have to hit the slot button to unmount the storage, and then you can mount it to another host system. But it eliminates the need to have to actually physically remove the drive. Express 34 slots on the front of the unit. They will finally work. And we've got some specific vendors that we're working with to provide cost-effective storage for those modules. So you'll be able to find more and more of those out there. And then another feature that, that wasn't even originally considered, because the original conception was that this was a recording device that could also play out. And what we've been finding is that more and more people are using the Key Pros as playout devices. And so now we've incorporated playlist support for the device as well. We also have our Key Pro Mini. Unfortunately, mine is on loan right now, so I can't hand that one around. But the Key Pro Mini is just a smaller version of the Key Pro. Yeah, and it's being used, right? So certainly can't hand that one out. The idea is that we were getting feedback as incredible and as enthusiastic as people were with the Key Pro. They wanted something in a smaller form factor. So we came up with the Key Pro Mini, which is exactly that. We're also enabling some new features with a free firmware update at the same time as we're updating the Key Pro full size, with a lot of those same features that I just mentioned. But in addition, we've worked with our friends at Avid, and we're going to be supporting native Dnxhd recording on the device. And this update is going to cost you absolutely nothing. It is a free update. So once again, a feature request that was not even originally designed or engineered into the product, but we've been able to work with Avid and make that work. Now here's the important differentiator. There's other systems out there that can record Dnxhd, but ultimately what they're doing is they're creating a wrapped version of that file. It's not a true Dnxhd OP Atom file. We've actually written our own codec so that we're creating the exact same file format and structure that an Avid system would be creating through its own hardware. So you can literally take the files off of the Key Pro Mini storage unit, put them on a host system, bring them into Avid, and Avid will never know the difference.
So DNX is in MXF format?
Yes, it's an MXF format. But we maintain all the metadata tags that are available in that file format, again, just like if it were coming off Avid's own hardware. Just some examples here of, I'm running this slide deck here too. Just some examples of how the Key Pro Mini can be mounted in different camera scenarios. So once again, we were getting feedback from our customers that said, love the Key Pro, can you make it a little smaller and a little more convenient to put on a camera? So there we go. And we've even incorporated this little cheese grater mounting plate with all the different types of holes and pin configurations so that you can easily mount it to Anton Bauer, Sennheiser. You can see here it's on a red. So the idea is that we really want to make this thing much more flexible. We put the controls, as you can see, on the side of the unit so that when it's mounted you can actually get to the controls. And then once again, it also has a network connection, just like the Key Pro Large, to be able to control the device over a network. Next area of focus. This is a real big one for us this year because the things we're going to cover. First of all, Final Cut Pro 10 doesn't support any type of signal-based ingest. And we have always had some software that's gone along with our cards and our I/O devices that allow you to not only configure and control those devices, but another piece of software called Virtual or VTR Exchange that allows you to actually ingest signal from our cards and from our I/O devices. We also have a piece of software that gets installed with our drivers called AJA-TV that allows you to play signal out from either our cards or our I/O devices. So we kind of build this little network of little applications that allow you to bring signal in, record file, and play signal out, regardless of what editing system you're working on. The feedback we were getting was those were great tools, but they were 3 different types of tools, and then there was a PC version. And so what we've done is we've taken all of those and we've wrapped them into one framework, which we call Control Room. So Control Room will be a unified user experience, user interface, that will contain all 3 of those little programs, and it will be exactly the same on all the platforms that we support, Apple, Windows, as well as Linux for our OEM support. So this gives us 2 sets of tools. First of all, it's a unified user experience, so it makes it easier to get in and start working with. And it's giving our software developers an opportunity now to have that unified framework to start to enhance on the individual tools. For instance, with our capturing tool, our VTR exchange, to incorporate more metadata and more logging capabilities, things that you would normally use in an NLE environment. And again, that will be a free download, so anybody who's using any of our current products will be able to utilize that same software. And then there's this guy. This is something I've been very excited about ever since I first heard about it, called the IOXT. So it's one of our external I/O devices, and we've worked with Intel and Apple to incorporate the Thunderbolt technology. So I'm going to pass this around. I've even included the cable because a lot of people want to know what the cable looks like. So you can see that, and I'm going to just show you one other thing. I'm going to take both ends of the cable and plug them in because we actually have 2 ports. So you'll see that as that gets passed around, again, the important thing is to look at the back. There's a lot going on back there. Notice these bullet points. 10-bit hardware up, down, across conversion built into that unit. So analog, 720, 1080, up, down, cross, do whatever you want with it. All hardware, all with 1 line of delay. So that's all built right in. OS X support drivers are going to be out of the gate. And as I mentioned on the previous slide, the control room software will also be included.
Is it Mac and Windows?
Coming soon, yes. Now, a couple of key points on this one. Notice the second bullet point there. 444 on an external I/O box. And that's because of the Thunderbolt technology. Thunderbolt is actually, it's a bus system. It's not just a connectivity technology. It's not just a cable. It's an actual bus system. And it's faster than the internal bus system of a Mac Pro 12 core. And you can daisy chain up to 7 devices on it. So 444 is not just one direction. That's both directions. It can actually be ingesting 444 and playing out 444 simultaneously. That's how much bandwidth there is in that technology. As you've seen on the device, there's 2 Thunderbolt ports. I'm going to talk about that in more detail in a second. HDMI I/O with 3D support on output. What does that mean? Well, it's HDMI 1.4a, which is the new HDMI spec that not only supports stereoscopic, but 2 and 4K playout, as well as ancillary metadata, like closed captioning. So there's a lot of extra features that are built into that spec. We've already got the port on this unit. Forward engineering, thinking ahead. 8 channels embedded audio, Genlock LTC and RS422 for control. This is what the front and the back look like, although you're seeing it on the actual unit as it comes around. Again, HDMI 1.4a. Now the SDIs are HD SDI with 3G support. So again, high bandwidth. That's how you can get that 444. So here's an example of how it would be configured, for instance, on a laptop. So we've got a Mac Pro, and let me just make one thing perfectly clear. The Thunderbolt technology was designed and engineered by Intel in partnership with Apple, and as a consequence of that, Apple got a 1-year exclusive on that technology for their products. That's going to come up here in a couple months. Now, I think Intel's going to want to get that technology out on as many things as they possibly can. So stay tuned on the PC side. You're going to start seeing, if not default configurations with Thunderbolt, at the very least options to be able to get Thunderbolt technology. It's not an add-on technology. It's not something you can put a PCIe card into a computer and suddenly get Thunderbolt. It's integrated into the logic board. So it has to come right from the logic board connectivity. So in our case, we've got the laptop going to our IOXT for ingest or monitoring or playout, whatever you want to use that. And then you see off the second Thunderbolt port, we go to storage. And off of that, we can go to a larger monitor. Now what do the other guys do? Well, they only have one port. Ooh. Forgot that other port. So you can only have one or the other. It's the end of the line. And you know, because it's a bus technology, how many people remember SCSI? Oh, there's that laugh. Right? Was that ever important, like what went in what order on a SCSI chain? Did that ever impact anything? Thunderbolt's not quite that sensitive, but there is some significance on where things go in the chain. So for instance, having an I/O device at the end of the chain is not necessarily the best to maintain your ultimate bandwidth. Okay? So again, it's not just a matter of having two ports, it's having the flexibility of determining where you're putting that product in your chain. And it's $14.95 MSRP. And it will be shipping right around the holidays. We just had that discussion. It's going through final stages of QA right now. The product that's being passed around is actually a production model. That's got all the stuff in it. We just don't have the drivers yet. So I can't give you a full-blown demo with regards to actually plugging it in and turning it on. But that unit is fully functional. It's got all the hardware in it, ready to go. Another big announcement we have that literally just happened about 3 or 4 weeks ago is an extension of our partnership with Avid. So we're very agnostic with regards to the nonlinear editing environments. We like everybody. Avid has traditionally been in a position where it's like to kind of own and control its hardware, which is fine, but they've now decided to open that up a little bit. So in addition to supporting one of our other products called the I/O Express with Media Composer 5.5, which was announced last year, they've now, with Media Composer 6, and I think Matthew's going to go into this further in additional meetings, but with Media Composer 6, they've actually come up with an SDK technology to open up the I/O portion of their software to developers like us. And the difference there is that the support that they provided with us for the I/O Express on Media Composer 5.5, they owned it. Meaning it was our hardware, but the driver that made it work was theirs. So if there was any issue with it, you call Avid, and that's fine. Going forward with Media Composer 6, with the OpenIO support, we own the drivers for our hardware. So if there's any issues, you call us, and we'll take care of that. And if anybody's worked with AJA, I think we've got a pretty good support team. So yeah, we really like those guys. And as you can see, they did a mutual update on Newscutter, Symphony, and Media Composer, and all of those products support our products, or support our technology now. So that means that all the Kona cards, starting with the 3G, the LHI, and the new LHE Plus, all natively supported. And if you're running multiple NLEs on the same system, they're all fully supported. So you don't need to play any kind of messing around with that. On the external I/O side, as I mentioned, the I/O Express already had support with version 5.5 of Media Composer. That's now been opened up even further because of the 6.0 Open I/O technology. But now, of course, our new IOXT that you're looking at natively supported right out of the box. We're pretty excited about that. Here's a little video.
Avid and AJA have a long-standing relationship, which goes back to the Avid DS product, where the Kona card has been used for a long time.
We thought at the time that we needed a platform that was extendable, that could handle resolution independence and all the power that DS requires. So we started with AJA actually a few years ago and implemented it in that product, and we've been very happy with the result.
After working with Kona and DS, with version 5.5 of Media Composer, we brought support for the I/O Express device to market.
And that's been working great. A lot of great customer feedback from that. We're now transitioning into two new initiatives, which is the Key Pro Mini, working with our Dnxhd codec. It basically ties the entire production workflow from creation on the device through import, through your editorial, through your effects processing, and then output, all on one format, all cost effective, and all as efficiently as you could possibly get it. And then finally, the OpenIO initiative that will allow even more Avid products to interact with AJA products. So we're pretty proud of our history together.
The recent announcement of the Key Pro Mini DnxHD has again shown just how closely the two companies are working together and how we're so interested in solving these problems that customers are asking us to solve for them.
Our customers asked us for an open solution that is cost effective and had the power behind it that AJA provides. We think that linking that power with Media Composer software is the perfect combination for our customers.
What we realized is that we should offer what we call an SDK, a software developer's kit. And that's what Avid OpenIO is.
One of the things we're hoping to achieve with OpenIO is that we wanted the most integrated workflow that we could have with AJA hardware.
There are a number of great advantages to this. First one is that everything that a card manufacturer offers today is going to work. The card manufacturer takes care of writing support into the OpenIO SDK, and any product in the line should function with Media Composer.
For Media Composer and Symphony, when we approached the OpenIO standard, we wanted to make sure that when they interacted with AJA hardware, that they were thinking about the editorial process. They weren't thinking about leaving the application in settings. They can set all of the things they want to do right inside of Media Composer and just start working immediately.
The other great thing about this is that as new cards come out with new capabilities, higher bandwidth, new functions that are specific to those cards, that support for Media Composer will be written into them from the get-go.
That was the goal that we set forth. We wanted them to have the same experience that they've always had with Media Composer, Nitrous DX, and Mojo DX, and they have that today with AJA hardware.
The other thing that working with companies like AJA does is gives us a nice path to future technologies, and we could talk about Thunderbolt, for instance, which is this nice bridge between storage, display, all the different inputs and outputs, all the peripheries that you have.
It provides the bandwidth that you need. It's easy connectivity. And these are the things that we're building inside of Media Composer today. So when devices come out like the AJA IOXT, we know that we've built an architecture that's extensible for the future, and we want to connect to it. That's really what OpenIO is about.
I'm so happy that we're finally bringing Media Composer version 6 to market. It satisfies so many customer requests.
The 64-bit architecture that has more features built into it than we've ever done before.
Great new user interface which preserves all of the muscle memory that you've built up over the years, but still gives you some nice new efficiencies, and again, lets the tool get out of your way so you can concentrate on the story. To be able to get a very nice, cost-effective, but still high-performance solution is something that Media Composer users are going to really take advantage of. You can use your AJA Kona card with Media Composer.
OpenIO allows AJA customers to use Media Composer or Newscutter and Symphony software with the very best hardware in the industry.
Can't say it any better than that. Right out of their own mouths. So a couple key things there. You may have mentioned at the beginning of that, they mentioned about the DS partnership. Yeah, not too many people knew that was our cards in there. Right from the beginning, that was an OEM partnership we had with them. So that's kind of where it all started down the road, where suddenly as the two companies start to talk a little bit more, they sit down at the table and other opportunities come up like the IO Express, and now with the OpenIO SDK, it's all on us to make sure that those products work. And the other key point was which I found specifically important, was that they understood that they want to focus on creating the craft tools. And when it comes to some of the I/O technology that's constantly changing, just like everything else, there's already people like us that are doing that. So Thunderbolt's a perfect example of that. We're on top of it. It's a perfect I/O technology for us. And so we can tie that into our products and immediately make that technology available to their software without them having to get in the way of that. Questions? Yes?
Dnxhd on the Key Pro Mini.
Yes.
Is it 8-bit, 10-bit?
10-bit.
It's all 10-bit?
Yep.
And can you have choice of the flavor of Dnx you can
Yes, we're going to be supporting all 4 of the flavors. Now the 220, just like with the 220 of ProRes, on the compact flash cards gets a little challenging sometimes just because of the bandwidth. When the Class 7 128 gig cards come out, that'll give a little more headroom to that to be able to handle that.
Okay. And how does all of the IO-XT compare to the Kona 3 card, which is like your top-of-the-line card?
Right.
Is it going to be on the same level?
Yeah, well, basically, because of the up-down cross convert that's in there, most of the Kona card is in that box already. So you're going to see a lot of compatibility with regards to the file quality coming off of that compared to the card itself. Now, obviously, because it's an external device, you're not going to see any of the system enhancements, system performance enhancements that you would with the internal card, just because it's an external technology. But I think the fact that you can see we're going to have 444 out of the gate with an external device like that, I mean, that's pretty amazing. Oh.
You also mentioned that you can record while playing out with the XT?
Well, I mean, it's maybe I should rephrase that. The idea is that there's enough bandwidth to go in both directions. So signal could be coming in and then monitoring out at the same time.
So let's say with the QTake station, could
Yeah.
you like record and play back that file with QTake with the IO?
Well, not at the same time because the host system's got to do one thing at a time. So it's that theoretical bandwidth that's available, and that there's enough capacity there to pass that much information in both directions simultaneously. So again, the idea is that if we're taking signal in and we're monitoring that back out, you're sending it over Thunderbolt to the host system and also passing it back out. There's plenty of bandwidth there.
Great. And for Final Cut Pro 10,
Final Cut Pro 10, Apple has publicly announced that sometime in 2012, they will be supporting external color and frame accurate monitoring from Final Cut Pro 10. Now, Thunderbolt, I think they probably would support that. I'm going on a limb there, but I'm thinking probably. So now on the ingest side, nobody knows that yet. Inbound, but certainly they have publicly announced on the outbound that they're going to provide support in FCP10 for color and frame accurate external monitoring. So obviously our cards and our I/O devices would more than likely fall into that area, just because we've always worked with their stuff before. So.
is there any plan for DNX on the Key Pro Large?
Good question, very good question. So the question was, is there going to be any support for Dnxhd on the larger full-size Key Pro? This Key Pro is about 3 years old. I mean, when this was designed and engineered, it was about 3 years ago. The Key Pro Mini was about 18 months old, newer chips. So the team's working on it. They're trying to see how much they can push the hardware. Don't have a hard answer on that yet, but they're putting brain cells to it. I mean, there's just a certain amount, the chips that are in the Key Pro Mini just weren't available when the Key Pro Large was built. So.
And for the Key Pro, it was sold with the spinning drives. You now sell SSD drive for?
Yes, 128 gig SSD drives are available.
Okay.
Yep. And again, as those memory capacities grow, and once we can certify and qualify them, they'll be available for the product as well. I mean, the only reason we package these is just because of the physical enclosure to make sure it fits into the unit. It's just a Firewire and an eSATA port on the backside, so there's no proprietary stuff going on there other than from a form factor standpoint, we needed to put an enclosure around that. Really? Because if you had stumped me, I could have given you like a Key Pro or something. But well, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.